Let's start out by talking about some other states, and I'm going to hand you a copy of this also when I get done for each of you, and I have a few for the press as well. This week, North Carolina actually passed tax reform. I don't know if you were aware of that, but it did pass.
Did it pass?
Yes, it did. A couple of days ago, and the governor is expected to sign it by the end of the week. He has agreed that he will sign it.
Before you finish, would you give us kind of some highlights if you know?
Sure
I know
will.
Dr. Reese has been up there. Probably she may know it better than anybody in the room from what I've learned.
Well, they passed the largest tax cut and tax reform package in a generation, axing the state death tax and replacing one of the highest state income taxes in the nation with a flat tax. They basically got together this year and pushed it through using a number of groups, including Americans for Prosperity North Carolina. I think this is the important statistic that we all need to know in Georgia. Early estimates indicate that passage of the tax reform package could cause North Carolina to leapfrog more than 20 states in tax competitiveness ratings. So they're right at our back door. We already know the situation in Tennessee. By the way, Tennessee got rid of their estate tax this year. So they are doing tax reform. Indiana legislature passed historic tax cuts, eliminating the inheritance tax and going to a 5% income tax, or did a 5% income tax cut. Ohio cut taxes by over $2.6 billion, and the Missouri legislature passed a generous tax relief package, but the governor vetoed the legislation, but they're going back into special session, and so they may revisit that at that time. So I would say from Americans for Prosperity Foundation point of view, the time for Georgia tax reform is now. If we sit still, other states pass us. So we can't just say, well, everything's okay now. Well, it may be this week, but maybe not next year. So I want to address what we can learn from what happened the last time that Georgia attempted tax reform, because I know that the Special Tax Council worked long and hard, and those were volunteers that worked on that at their own expense, their own time, and it was a great investment of time. And they came forward with a package, but I think the big problem in that package was secrecy. The people of Georgia distrusted it from day one because they felt like they were in the dark, and that when things are done in the dark, they're not trusted, and that's fair enough. The public needs to be involved in crafting the solution to tax reform in Georgia. Various organizations need to be on board in order to educate their members, because we have a lot of good grassroots organizations from various perspectives all over the state, and they should be on board with this. Good, reliable numbers need to be readily available, and that's one reason that we wanted to help fund, along with Georgia Public Policy, the tax reform game with the dynamic modeling, because we wanted everybody to be able to play with it, so to speak, to get those numbers. We feel like if the real numbers are out there, everybody can say, well, let's get rid of this, or let's do that, or let's do the other, but those are just sound bites. Let's look at what the real numbers are, and that's an important concept there, is that people are loyal to what they create themselves, and so we want to give them a chance to have those numbers and create a tax reform model that works. Now, I know we won't all come up with exactly the same answer, but I think that the numbers will point to some of the best answers, and so it will be a better, easier sell, so to speak. We have a plan to present the game when it comes out all across the state of Georgia, so we will be glad to help in getting the word out. We would love to have Georgians interact not only with our staff, but also maybe the legislators as well from their area, so that they can really feel that they have a part in this. If a solid tax reform bill is introduced, our other branch would very likely get involved, Americans for Prosperity Georgia, and help fight for its passage. A good bill would broaden and flatten out the tax base, not increase taxes overall, and significantly reduce income tax. And I mean significantly. I talked with a couple of people who are a lot smarter than me and have a whole lot more money. And So that's probably a lot of people. But anyway, these two guys, and these were two separate conversations. These men don't know each other. They're both businessmen. One of them is getting ready to think about retirement. The other one is very young, younger than me. And both of them told me
They're still in
the same
diapers.
thing. What's that?
They're still in diapers.
The guy getting ready for retirement, I said, so what do you think about tax reform? And he said, well, it's like this. If Georgia doesn't do tax reform, when I sell my business, before I sell my business, I'm going to move my residency to Florida so that I can sell my business from there and avoid the income tax in Georgia. And, you know, that's a great law. So we can say, you know, tax the rich more, blah, blah, all we want to, but in reality, they will find a way. The other businessman is getting ready to sell his second business. His first business was very successful and made him a millionaire before he was 30. And he's getting ready to do that again in the next few years. And he's already saying, and he said to me, you know, if Georgia doesn't do tax reform, I'm going to move to Florida or Tennessee when I sell my business so that I don't have to pay the income tax. So we need to do something. Winning the public over involves a strategy that I think would be akin to the strategy that we and other groups worked with us on the charter school amendment, and that is getting out there in front of the people, making sure they understand the facts, that they have everything before them, and getting them all on board. We can't get everybody on board, but I think that we could get almost everybody on board, because this is a winning situation for Georgia, reforming our tax code. And not reforming our tax code, I think, is just an option for failure for our state economy. So I think Georgia tax reform needs to happen. It needs to happen now, and I think it can succeed if it is done in the right way.